Hi, everyone. I am Attorney Carol Williams. Welcome back to another evening live where we will talk about U.S. immigration, some hot topics that are happening, give you guys some up-to-date and current information. I am the managing attorney of an immigration law firm here in the U.S. We're located in Florida, but we work with clients all over the country and, in fact, all over the world. We work with business owners and businesses and families that are trying to help everybody navigate our U.S. immigration system. So welcome. Totally happy to have you here. So I kind of want to just dive right in and give you a couple updates. So if you entered into the H-1B lottery and you did not get in, or let me back up. If you entered into the H-1B lottery and you haven't checked your MyUSCIS account, make sure that you do that. If the status says submitted, then you did not get selected in this round. If it says selected, then you did get selected, and now you can file your full H-1B application. So that's very important. If you did not get selected in this H-1B lottery, and that lottery was run at the end of March, so at the end of last month, what is your plan B? You want to be figuring out what your plan B is. I work with my clients so that we figure out their plan B before we even enter them into the lottery, so that we are off to the races if they don't get selected. But if you haven't figured out your plan B, think about what your plan B is. Your plan B, if you're in the US and you're in student status, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, you may want to stay in school. You may want to get another degree, and that's totally fine. Maybe you're a dual national. Maybe you're a dual citizen with another country. So if you are a citizen also with Chile, Singapore, or Australia, then we may have a solution for you. Super similar to the H-1B, but not the H-1B. H-1B1, or we have options if you are a dual citizen. So we want to look at those options. And maybe you're an extraordinary ability and you just are too incredibly humble to realize that. Maybe you just don't believe people when they say that about you. You've been toiling away in your mind. This is just what you do. But maybe what you do is having a really big impact, or can have a really big impact. So maybe you are considered extraordinary ability. Maybe you qualify for extraordinary ability, but you've just never thought about yourself that way. So that's something else that I run through an analysis with my clients. We talk about that. And then for some folks, their plan B is going to be to go home, right? Nobody likes that when I say that, but that for some people is their best plan B for many reasons. Some people want to go home, they want to reset. Some people go home because they're starting a family. Some people, want to go home because they have family things happening. So that may be your best bet for some folks. So what is your plan B if you entered into the H-1B lottery and you weren't selected? So think about that. If you need some assistance with that, feel free to reach out. My office has had a few Plan B conversations this week with folks who didn't quite have their Plan B sort of materialized in their head. The other thing I want to say today, guys, is that I know the news is pretty sad and pretty outrageous, and a lot of people have a lot of things to say about what's being portrayed in the news, but applications are getting approved. Let me repeat that. Applications that are being filed with USCIS are getting approved. So I try to be positive in the midst of everything that's happening, but applications are being approved. So if you believe that you are eligible, or you've spoken to an attorney and that attorney believes you're eligible for something, for a benefit, for a green card, for student status, for work authorization, apply, right? Put that application in there, send that petition in, work with an attorney and get that filed. applications are absolutely getting approved. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about before I take some questions, so if you have some questions, feel free to put those in the chat. And I see that some are already coming in over on YouTube. We're live on YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook this evening. So the other thing I wanted to talk about real quick and kind of remind people, if you follow my Instagram page, there's a couple of posts from a while ago about this, but I'm all for social media. We're all for social media. We're having a conversation tonight on social media. Social media can be a really great thing, right? But with the social media comes responsibility, right? Like, if, like our parents are always tell us, like, be careful what you say, be careful what you do. You don't want that to impede or negatively impact your future employment, right? Like, we all know that employers look at our social media pages, potential employers look at social media, and sometimes they will say, maybe this isn't the person that we want in our company. Maybe this person's persona online doesn't uphold our company values, right? It happens. I talked to my mentees about that. So now what we are seeing is we are seeing immigration, we are seeing DHS, Department of Homeland Security, openly say that they are looking at social media, whether it's an AI that's looking at social media, whether it's the actual adjudicator that's looking at social media, they're looking at social media. So you are free and welcome to live your best life on social media, but understand that in some cases there could and may and will be consequences. If you're putting things out there on social media, which DHS deems to be inappropriate for the visa category that you are applying for. And so I do have that conversation with my clients. And a lot of clients say that they don't like it, and I get it. I do. But currently that is the world that we are living in, and I wouldn't be doing my job effectively, I don't think, if I didn't tell my clients about this. So I am telling you all about this. Social media is being evaluated. When you apply for a visa overseas with the consulate, which is overseen by Department of State, they affirmatively ask for your social media handles on the visa application. So they're not asking for kicks and giggles. They're asking because they're going to look and see what you've been doing on social media. So keep that in mind. So those are kind of the updates that I want to talk about. I have a feeling there's some questions in here about students, so we'll cover those when we get to those questions. Someone has asked over on YouTube, is a denied I-140 application considered a denied visa to the U.S. on the form I-485? Is a denied I-140 considered a denied visa? So when I think of the word visa, and understanding that not everybody uses these words the same, which is in part what makes immigration so difficult, right? When someone asks me if a visa has been denied, I ask them if they have been to a consulate and a consulate has denied putting a visa in their passport. An I-140 is not a visa; it is an application. So I don't consider that to be a denied visa. I consider a denied I-140 to be a denied application. So there's sort of I guess like a textbook answer to that. The question maybe you want to be asking is that something that you need to disclose in your application? So that may be something that you want to think about instead of sort of parsing out the meaning in the words. But with my clients, and some of my clients watch live, they know, because I tell them, I take a very conservative approach, unless they are super risk tolerant, right? But I generally tend to take a very conservative approach. So keep that in mind. And for anyone on here that we chit chat every so often, for your specific case, you want to make sure that you are asking your lawyer, whoever is representing you. If you need a lawyer, feel free to reach out to us. But I am not your lawyer, so I can't sort of tell you how to answer your forms. So let's see here. Another question over on my wife has been waiting for over 2 years for her visa. Why is it taking so long? We already had the appointment and the officer was nice. Doesn't matter that the officer was nice. I'm just gonna start there. It doesn't really matter that they're nice, right? I have had plenty of nice officers give me decisions that I didn't particularly like. I appreciate that they were nice during the process, right? Like I think we can be on opposite sides of a situation and be nice and be cordial, but that doesn't necessarily mean if they're nice that they're going to automatically approve my application. I wish it did, but it doesn't. So just keep that in mind. On the flip side of that, maybe if you think an officer is mean or a little short or brusque, doesn't automatically mean that your application is going to get denied either. So your wife's application has been pending for her visa. I'm assuming she's outside of the country. It's been pending for over 2 years. I don't know. I don't know why it's been, why it's taken over, 2 years. It could be normal. It could be abnormal. I would say to have a consultation, and then we can see what has happened, what paperwork, what's going on there. Let's see here. Moving over to, got a couple questions over on TikTok. How long does it take for a decision after DHS receives the evidence? I am assuming you are talking about maybe after an RFE. So the short answer is I don't know, right? If we're talking about an employment-based case, and let's say it's an employment-based case that was filed using premium processing. So if it's a non-immigrant case using premium processing, or those are usually, not always, going to come back in another 15 business days. Not calendar days, but business days. So roughly like 3 weeks-ish. If it is a family-based case, let's say it's let's say you're sponsoring a spouse, and they ask for more evidence. I don't know. It could be a month. It could be a couple of weeks. I think it depends on a few things. It depends on the work that is currently on that officer's desk, because your RFE response typically goes back to the exact same officer. So, how much work is on that officer's desk already? How much work has been put on their desk in between when they sent the RFE and when they got your response? And how much information were they asking for in this RFE, right? Like, were they asking for one piece of information, or did you get like a 15-page RFE where you got like 5 massive questions that you've got to respond to? So all that kind of leads, bleeds into it. But, there is no precise answer. When we're talking about how long will it take for USCIS or for Department of State to process something for us, unless it is premium processing, there is no concrete sort of time frame for them to process, at least the cases that I work with. How can I update my phone number and email on Form DS-260? I don't think you can. Once you submit the DS-260, it's gone. It's off into the ether. When you get to the interview, you can have that conversation with the officer. Is it safe to travel if I have an approved I-131 and pending I-45? There was a death in the family. So first, most importantly, I'm very sorry that you had a death in your family. Second, is it safe to travel with an approved I-131 and a pending I-485? So the short answer is it depends. It should be, right? It should be. You've got what you need in order to travel. However, travel these days is still a little bit tricky, still a little squishy, still a little tricky. If you have any criminal history at all, if your social media is not to the liking of, the current DHS administration, travel might not be the best thing in your instance. So I think that question is at this point going to be, and it depends. And you should have a conversation with somebody who can look at not only your immigration history, but really have an in-depth conversation about what's happening on your social media pages. Have you been to or supported any recent protests? And do you have a criminal history? Those are things that I am having my clients take a look at when we talk about travel right now. Let's see, what else do we have here? If passport has been expired, should I renew it before the citizenship interview? So I'm gonna make a couple of assumptions here. If your passport expires, after you file for your citizenship and you're just waiting, let me back up. If your passport has expired after you file for your naturalization application and after you've had your naturalization interview, after you've had your naturalization interview, and you're just waiting for your oath, then I probably wouldn't bother, right? I probably wouldn't bother, because presumably you're going to get a U.S. passport after you're going to apply for a U.S. passport after that, right? If it expires after you file for your naturalization, it depends on if you need to travel, quite honestly. So it kind of depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to travel and you need a passport to travel, then yes. If you're not trying to go anywhere and you filed your application, you're just kind of waiting for your interview, I would say probably not, but I would also look at how long it is taking your local office to schedule people for interviews, right? Like if they're taking months upon months upon months and that's just untenable to you, and you got to go somewhere, then maybe you extend your passport. So that kind of is a very individualized question. It really kind of depends on what your individual plans are. What else do we have here? Someone is asking, this is an employment-based question. If USCIS makes a mistake on the priority date on the approved I-140 notice, is it okay to just use that priority date to file the I-45 forms as the actual priority date is also current? That is a mouthful. Hold on. If USCIS makes a mistake on the priority date on the approved EB I-140 notice, is it okay to just use that priority date to file the I-45 forms as the actual priority date is also current? So here's the deal, right? Mistakes happen. Like, we're all human. We make mistakes. It was a typo, right? It was a typo. Like, people make mistakes. However, I wouldn't rely on the USCIS mistake. USCIS can very easily come back and say, we made a mistake. You knew that we made a mistake. And now you've essentially lied to USCIS. So that's not really worth it. Like, it's just not worth it. So I would not use something that I knew was a USCIS mistake. If it's a mistake, it's a mistake. It happens. that is when I would recommend that you have a conversation with an attorney. And you're probably using an attorney, right? Have a conversation with that attorney and follow that attorney's advice on how to alert USCIS to the fact that they made a mistake, but also let them know that you believe your actual priority date is still current. But I would not rely on a mistake that will, I believe, come back to haunt you. So I would not do that. But that brings up a good issue, right? Like people, the adjudicators at USCIS are human. They are moving very fast. I know no one wants to believe me when I say this, right? But they're moving very fast. They care about what they're doing, and they're human, and they make mistakes. Very plain and simple. Like we all make mistakes. The officers at USCIS are no different. So be forthcoming about what you believe to be a typo and also what you believe to be is the actual priority date, and move forward in that manner. But I wouldn't try to get a 485 approved with an incorrect priority date. I don't think that that will wind up very well. What else do we have by way of questions? I'm on here a little bit later than usual, although I kind of like this later time, I have to admit. So we may make this my usual day and time. Let's see what we have here for other questions. If you guys have questions, feel free to put them in the chat if there are no more questions. For those of you that come to my lives often, I always have dinner after these. So it'll be a late dinner for me this evening. I am not seeing any more questions, so I will stay on here for a few more minutes. And if you guys have more questions, bring them on. If not, I will go and have some dinner. I'm having fish tonight, so that makes me happy. What else do we have here? Hold on 1 second. Someone has asked if Mr. Fortress, how are you? Do I handle removal proceedings? I do not handle removal proceedings. I am not someone that you want standing next to you if you are in immigration court. So my firm handles employment-based cases. So we work with startup founders and established businesses when they are looking to hire someone that's not a U.S. citizen. Once they've identified that person or people or team of people, they come to me and say, hey, we have this team of people or this one person, or maybe it's the founders themselves that need work authorization as well. Their spouses and or dependent children will also need immigration status in the state. So we do that. We also work with companies when they are sponsoring their employees for green cards. So we work through that process as well. And then we work with U.S. citizens who are sponsoring their family members for green cards. So they are sponsoring spouses, fiancés, dependent children, and aging parents. And dependent children in the immigration world is under 21 and unmarried. So the minute you are 20 years old and you get married, you are no longer a dependent on your children, on your parents' applications. So just keep that in mind. What else do we have? Sort of a follow-up question on the naturalization question and the passport. If you still have concerns, which is totally normal, I would either schedule a consultation or if you are currently working with an attorney, I would have this conversation in depth with your current attorney. But if you want to schedule a consultation with my office, that's totally cool. We are happy we're happy to do that. But sorry, back to Mr. Fortress. Yes, I don't handle removal, but I know people that do handle removal. And there's some really good ones. So if you are looking specifically for a removal attorney, you're welcome to DM me. Tell me what state the person is in, and I will happily see if I can get you a couple of names of attorneys who do deportation in your area. What else do we have here? What else do we have here? All right. All right, y'all. So I don't see any more questions. I don't see any more questions. So every time I say that, one sort of pops in, but that's not a question. So I don't see any more questions. So we're gonna sort of say goodnight. But this has been fun. I will be back next Wednesday, probably a little bit earlier, between like 7 and 8. And we'll be giving you an update on U.S. immigration, what's sort of hot, what you need to know about, answering some questions of yours. But if you are looking for some assistance with your application, you're looking for an attorney, feel free to reach out to my office. We're happy to get a consult scheduled with you. We work on employment-based cases. We also work on family-based cases. So this has been fun as always. And I will talk with y'all next Wednesday. Bye, everybody.